Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Tui.
And this is Dark Side of the Moon. Let's get to it, motherfuckers. One shots.
Up and away.
I was thinking that too, actually. But that's for the next one, dude. This is Hush.
Yeah, sorry, shit. Jumped the gun on that one.
All right, Noel, so we're back. We got another Dark Side one shot for the fine folks at home. And this time we're going to enter into the realms of the animated world of DC, starting off with something that you sent our way, and that was Hush, the Batman movie. So Noel, talk to us a little bit about this movie. It's an adaptation of the comic book, as far as I know, yes?
Yes, it's a very, it sticks to the comic book, but I do mean that as a compliment. They gave the people what they want. It was a beautifully rendered version of the comic book, if you like. I know when I suggested it to you, you were like, I think I've read that. Yeah, but I was like, yeah, well, then you probably do know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it doesn't try and twist the format too much. But I actually thought it was such a beautifully expansive world of Gotham. You know, it had Superman. It had, of course, which I know is Metropolis, blah, 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 but he was in it. But he had Poison Ivy, you had Scarecrow, you had the Riddler, and you had the Joker, and you had Harlequin, and they were all kind of integrated into the story in kind of different segmenting, kind of like Guy Ritchie kind of ways, where all the stories were intermingling, but then veering off and all coming together. And I just thought it was a very, very clever story, really well executed. So it was one of the first two things I thought to recommend. I was like, you know what, Hush, it's not that old, it's not out that long, it's 2019. And I think we were both going to like it. So it was going to be a treat to talk about. How did you find it on first viewing?
Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it. I think I read the comic book, but I didn't remember the twist. Like, I didn't remember the big reveal. So there was loads of, like, and I was watching, I was like, Jesus, Damien's such a judgy little bitch, isn't he? Like, you know what I mean?
Judgy little bitch. I must insist you wear protection to the Batman.
Yeah, and he's like, what does he call her? A trollop?
Yeah. Or your bad choice in women, not limited to, but including my mother.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant. Like, I'm like, I like the way they showed they expanded Gotham in this. They didn't just limited to two or three of the characters that we know.
Clayface, that was another one I'd forgotten. He was a cool Clayface fight.
Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Penguin was in the little montage sequence.
Yeah. So it's just touched. It just really, I don't know. You felt like that's what the magical world of Batman in the comic books would actually look like brought to the silver screen. No, what's the screen? Silver screen is TV.
No, silver screen's the movies and small screen.
Thank you. But and it just goes to show how excellent DC's animated game is.
Yeah.
That DC is just so triumphant in this one arena, and they just haven't seemed to find the formula when it comes to their live action. But then this is just an excellent example of that, because you could hold this up to Joss Whedon's Justice League and think, wow, what they are not on the same level remotely.
Yeah, I think it shows you as well that within animation you got a bit more of that freedom to do what you want and what type of stories you tell. Like, look at Marvel, they took the animated route with the What If series, because people seem to be way more forgiving with new stories or whatever when it's in animated form. Like, because we look at it as an event or once off or something. So
you're allowed to be a little bit braver as well, aren't you? Because you're not like, oh, we need to expand on this character, so we'll have them locked up at the end. No, why not kill them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or why not have, or leave it open end, whatever. You're allowed to just have a little bit more fun with it. It could be a little bit more tragic and things like that, you know. And
you don't have to spend 200 million for all them cool action sequences out of it.
And that is obviously a big thing. I mean, even the Clayface fight alone, you know, that's $50 million right there. Like, you know.
I love the way they set it up. Like from the intro, where Batman gets shot. And it's kind of like he's like it is really him at his detective best, isn't it? And that's what I really
actually like. Excellent point. That occurred to me that you got to see Batman trying to figure something out, like trying to be the world's greatest detective. And despite all the films, now I haven't seen the Robert Pattinson one, and probably will have by the time this comes out. But I haven't. It's supposed to be incredible. So I'll just as a caveat say that that's not included in my point. Is I've never seen that in live action or even sometimes most of the animation, not him being a detective, as Ra's al Ghul always refers to him, a detective. Like, that's what he's supposed to be first and foremost. Before he throws a punch, he's where he needs to be. He's already been playing chess before he ever arrives. Like the punching and the kicking is just what comes after. And I thought this did an excellent story of fleshing out Batman.
Yeah, when you say like Batman is kind of like the superhero version of Sherlock Holmes, and the Joker's kind of like his Moriarty?
100%. Absolutely. Even when you watched Robert Downey Jr. led Sherlock Holmes, he was a terrific fighter, but he was a genius.
Yeah.
And even his fighting came from his genius.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wasn't a freestyle boxer. He looked at him and said, body language. He's got a slight limp on his right, so he's going to lean in from his left. That's it.
Yeah,
He'd assessed it right down to them. Exactly. And that's what kind of gave him his edge. And that's why Batman, like when you see Batman take on Superman, you see he's figuring out stuff during the fight. He goes, no, he's fighting it because otherwise we'd already be dead. Then he lies to him and tell him he's after opening up a gas main.
Yeah.
And
I didn't like that. Superman would have smelled something.
I wonder if like super spell. One thing I don't get is if you're invulnerable, how do you have super hearing? Like the inside of your ears. I don't know. It was always a dark area with Superman.
Yeah, I know the way to say gas is odorless, but everything has a tiny odor. We just can't.
Well, Superman is supervision. I mean, you've often seen stuff where he's able to. I read a comic where he was able to figure out his own genetic sequencing by looking at his hand. You know what I mean? Like that's how powerful he is. He is like a god. So yeah, again, he was under the whatever. We got to see kryptonite brass knuckles. Just shut up. Just shut up and accept it.
Just kryptonite knuckles, dude.
Yeah. And he just it was
no brass.
It was no. Well, that was kind of like brass, and then there was like the daggery bits that were made of kryptonite. So I stand by it.
Nah.
Nah. And it had that line that was iconic, and it was like deep down, I know Clark's a good guy, and deep down, I know I'm not.
Yeah.
And then of course he knows
that was in the comic too, wasn't it?
That was in the comic too, iconically. Yeah. And then of course he knows ultimately it doesn't matter how many tricks he has, he needs to snap Superman out of it. So he also thinks to kidnap Lois Lane. Yeah, and, you know what I mean. That's just it. He knows it's a fight he can't win, but he can draw it out, and he strategically beat Superman. Yeah, even though it wasn't like Superman versus Darkseid or something where they just punched the shit out of each other, but still it was excellent.
Yeah, it was definitely way better put together between Batman and Superman in this movie than it was in BVS.
Massively, massively.
The stakes made more sense. Like Superman being under the influence of Poison Ivy. You know what I mean? Like you could have had that thing where even if you didn't have Poison Ivy in BVS in Batman vs Superman, that you could have easily have had someone controlling him, and to end that fight, you don't have Batman going to go save Martha or some bullshit. You just have Batman ending the control that person has over Superman, and that ends the fight. I've
told you about that comic I seen, and it's Batman about to deliver the death blow to Darkseid, and he's going, just before I die, please save my mother. What's her name? Martha Darkseid. And it's just Batman welling up. It's just... because oh god, some things are just so genius that you just watch like I watch Hush and I think, oh my god, I'd never make that film or write that story. It's just great. It's just great, and you recognize it. So oh god, I mean, first one. But then you see stuff and you think that's so stupid. How would anyone think that's a good idea?
Yeah,
I find myself in that Venn diagram. I'm a dum dum, but apparently not that much of a dum dum. And I'm not a creative genius, definitely. And that whole what if they just they realize both their mother's names are Martha? Brilliant, just brilliant.
Is that is their name Martha Wayne in the comic books as well? Is it?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and I think her maiden name was Arkham. And I think Arkham Asylum is named after her family. Now,
is that real?
I think so. And now it's going to air, so that better be true.
That's so weird.
Because the fanboys come for you, man. The fanboys come for you.
Yeah, it's great. If the fanboys are after us, it means they're listening, so it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, you hydrate yourself there. Tell me, did it live up to your expectations? I talked it up.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of DC's animated content. Like that and computer games, they're hitting it out of the park constantly. So it's insane that they've made
Marvel has nothing that can touch the Batman series that I've seen. Yeah,
even in terms of you're talking about in computer games.
Yeah, I just meant computer games. Yeah. In cinema, they're leagues beyond. There's no denying it. But,
it's such an anomaly to see that Warner Brothers are succeeding and DC are succeeding in so many different facets of their own universe, but yet they're failing so much on the big screen. And I know Robert Pattinson's Batman is out now. It's getting lauded, and hopefully, like, because Joker did really well. We had like pockets of the DCU that did well, Aquaman, the first Wonder Woman, Man of
Mm.
Steel. Like, so it shows that they know how to make good movies, and hopefully, like, with Shazam did well as well. So like they're showing now that bit by bit with Suicide Squad as well. So bit by bit, DC are making better movies in live action. But like for the longest time, they've been dominating with animated
Mm.
movies and computer games. And like,
Well, Marvel expands.
yeah,
Marvel expands, and the computer games you don't necessarily have to. With
yeah.
animations, you definitely don't have to. You're telling fragments. You're taking a story that was
Mm.
iconic, and you're just bringing it to life. So yeah, I think that's where they actually let themselves down, is expand. Take
Yeah,
Aquaman from that story, now drop him into this Wonder Woman story, and then use that to build this. Like Marvel were just playing 3-dimensional chess the entire time.
yeah, because that was their plan. That was always their plan, to have a universe. But like with the even though DC are getting better now, and they failed for a little while on the big screen, it's like for a decade or more, the animated movies have always been top notch. Like always been top notch. They've
Yes,
dominated completely.
and for a decade or more, I think there's some really great ones go back to like 2007, 8.
Yeah,
So
that's what
yeah, they've been at it for a long time, and it's been absolutely stellar content.
yeah, and it makes perfect sense what they're doing. They're just literally making direct adaptations of their comic books that are being
Exactly.
ridiculously successful, like Killing Joke,
Kind of like, dudes,
Dark
we don't
Knight.
have to write these. Yeah, we made these for you.
Yeah, exactly.
The Long Halloween.
Yeah,
There was
exactly.
one that they did recently
It's
where
like
Barbara Gordon got shot by the Joker.
you
That
don't
story is from 86, I think.
yeah, you don't even need storyboards because they're there
No,
already. Like, you know what I mean? Like
no.
the comic book is
I saying,
there.
like, here's a picture of him at the door, and there's a picture of him walking out with the door. Can you
Yeah.
do the motion where he turns
yeah.
and leaves? Because that's what you have to do. It's an animator's dream.
Yeah, you know what I
No,
mean?
it's an
Like,
animator's dream.
and like,
And stellar work by them, by the way.
yeah, exactly. And you already have this animated style or these illustrations done by world class artists for DC. So, like, this style is there. All you have to do is pretty much you have to just be able to draw someone else's work and put the animation, and there you have it. Like, you know what I mean? Because your script is there, the storyboards are already there, the animation style is already there. So, like, you're three quarters of the way there in terms of the process of making an animated movie. Because really, all you have to do is make a script out of the comic book script, like make an actual motion picture script like out of it, and then just fucking animate it, and that's it. And that's what I think DC realizes, like, okay, we already have all these amazing stories here, and they bring us already three quarters of the way to making an animated movie.
Yeah.
That's how they can turn it around so
Like
quickly, like,
50 years of it. What I loved about this, I have to say, when it was kind of comes to its culmination, was that I finally got to see a really fucked up dark Riddler.
Yeah,
Finally, like a Riddler that wasn't camp. Like, I went to Batman Forever when I was a kid with my dad. And it's one of my favorite memories.
Yeah.
My dad bringing me to that, and the campy Jim Carrey. And I always loved that movie. I don't give a shit that it was a bad movie. Looking at it as through adults' eyes, it was a magic to Jim Carrey in that movie. But that was the Riddler. The Riddler was like a campy character with a green suit covered in question marks who put everything into a riddle. It was very campy, very 1960s era kind of comic books. And he was from the Lazarus pit. He was fucked up. He was like, fucking with everybody and trying to destroy Batman's life on multiple levels. Yeah. And that was like, he was no joke. He was absolutely no fucking joke. And I feel like he got his dues a little bit when I was watching it, because the Riddler is a good bad guy,
Well, yeah, he's potentially got a very Zodiac-esque appeal to him, like,
exactly,
what I mean? Where you can kind of play with the media or some shit like that. But
an inquisitive mind who wants those who engage with him to have inquisitive minds. Like, that's the whole point of him.
He wants to challenge.
He wants to challenge himself while challenging you. And that's and that is actually that, you know what, you just made the Zodiac thing, you already just got to it, but that when I said it and made the Zodiac reference kind of makes sense to me as well. It's a good reference.
Yeah.
Somebody who was like, you can catch me, but this is what you'll have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have to figure this out before you can catch me. And
that fucker was never caught. And the guys who did the Bundys who did everything in their power to just never show up on the radar got caught, and this guy didn't. Yeah, so it's intriguing.
Do you think some of the footage we've seen from Paul Dano's interpretation of the Riddler for the upcoming the Batman, do you think that was inspired by the Riddler from Hush with this?
I'd say it would have to be. I think he's the type of actor that would take it very seriously, and I think he would have to. Obviously, again, he's not going to look at Batman Forever and take anything from Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is amazing. Not coming for Jim,
Yeah,
but yeah, of course, he would look for the more twisted inversions of him.
Yeah,
something that could be brought to the screen and not be campy, because that obviously they weren't going it like Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, and Robert Pattinson, Batman. They seem to have a more dark interpretation, and obviously you're going to have to try and match that energy. So yes, but if I used to take a stab at it, I'd say he watched Hush multiple times, because no, I'm not like the treasurer who knows absolutely everything, but it's the best source I can think for the good Riddler.
Yeah,
like, that was a great Riddler. That was Riddler at his absolute finest.
The big question mark on his head is very similar to the big question mark on the mask in Paul Dano's what we see in the images.
And actually just stitched in. So instead of being something like campy, it's a scar, and that's actually just a cool way to go about it,
Yeah, exactly. Like, so
I hope his name isn't Edward Nigma. Is his name Edward Nigma? I wonder in the new film. It probably will be.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know, because I only watched...
Enigma is a little,
Yeah, I only watched 1 or 2 trailers. I didn't want to know too much about it. I just wanted to get an idea of the style of the movie.
Only watched one.
Yeah,
the teaser, and once the actual trailer.
Yeah, same as.
So I know very little. I found out Colin Farrell is playing Penguin. Things like that down the line, but
yeah, no, I was the same as well. Like, just watch the teaser and watch the theatrical, like, and then kind of let it simmer. I'm going to go see it on Wednesday, so I cannot wait. But like, yeah, so what I liked about this was the relationship between Catwoman and Batman. They really layered on that, and they showed how good they can actually be together, and how very similar they are, but also extremely different. Because, excuse me, even though their methodologies are very similar, but the ends that they want to apply at
yes,
you know what I mean, is very different. Like, so, like, I think that's why it shows when they diverge later on, when she kills the Riddler,
allows him to be killed. You know what I mean? So, like, she makes a decision that this is not what I'm dying for.
Yeah,
and Batman makes a decision that if there's a chance he'll do it. That it came to a culmination, an impasse.
She didn't allow him to be killed. She literally killed him. She cut the rope.
Yeah, she killed him. Yeah. It was kind of like they would all be killed.
Yeah, but
I'd be like one of these guys. You have 10 minutes to evacuate the building and just like start killing everyone immediately. There's only like 6 people there, and the emergency exit is right beside you.
So I couldn't make it. No. So yeah. So what I liked about this was the relationships between Nightwing and Batman, Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne, and Catwoman and Batman. I like the kind of the witty repartees, between the main characters. The interpretation of Alpha was pretty cool. Do you remember? And he was like saying to Batman, I don't want to be the butler of the world's greatest vegetable. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he didn't want him.
He made him a new helmet with extra padding. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the kind of back and forth between the characters in it, and the action was really, really cool as well. And I didn't guess who was going to be Hush. I figured it was going to be his friend, the dude Thomas something. I can't remember his surname, Thomas Elliott or something, was it? But like, his friend died. I for some reason thought he wasn't dead, and he was going to be the killer. So it was cool seeing a new iteration of the Riddler, like you say. Not as so campy. You can really use him, like, he can be a secondary tier Joker in a lot of ways if you use him correctly, because he can be very chaotic, and like he can really play a lot of mind games. And as I said, it's very Zodiac-esque, where he could use the media in a way to turn against Batman, do propaganda type things, or there's a lot of different ways you can do it, kind of like the way Heath Ledger's Joker did in the Dark Knight, where he played with the public perception of Batman and kind of started turning Gotham on Batman before he ever really went after Batman. So like, that's something that the Riddler can do because of the means he has and the methods he uses. And I'm like you, like, so I wouldn't look at him or view him as a very calm character. I would view him as someone that can be a very serial killer type player, a person that can manipulate public perception of Batman, play with people, like fucking get really to Batman. Like, I didn't like the way how he figured out was Bruce Wayne, like some sort of weird fucking fever dream or something. Like, so.
You know what it was? I think he tapped into his own potential when he went actually into the laser pit. I think his mind expanded, and everything that he already knew, he was able to see from a broader perspective. Literally, think outside the box.
All the information that was in subconscious, kind of like.
Exactly. He kind of always knew. He even said something like, "And it was right there in front of me."
Yeah, do you remember the part where Batman reveals himself to be Bruce Wayne to Selena Kyle? It
Yeah.
doesn't change his voice at all. Anytime, you know what I mean? He's like, I am Batman. I'm actually, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh, let me
I'm
remove
not I'm not the Batman you know. I'm actually Bruce Wayne, the guy you also know particularly
it.
well.
Yeah, like the guy you were just talking to last night that had the exact
Yeah,
same voice and
exactly.
jaw
The
structure
guy
and
from the
body.
dinner.
Yeah, the
Don't
exact same
worry,
build.
I Bruce Wayne will get out of here. It's me, Batman. I met Bruce Wayne on the stairs. He's gone.
Yes, Bruce Wayne has fled. I am Batman. What do you mean I sound exactly like Bruce Wayne? It's a very common voice. We both come from the Palisades. It's an area outside of Gotham, you know. You know what I mean? Like we share a rural ancestry, you know, me and Bruce Wayne. That's all I'm willing to say, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have the same jawline, the same height, the exact same voice, same build, whatever. No, it's a coinkydink. I'm telling you.
Yeah, same face, same bank account.
Could you imagine? He's like, I'm the world's greatest detective. If I was Bruce Wayne, I think I'd know about it.
I think it was even in Family Guy. He doesn't believe the Batman is Bruce Wayne. I'm sorry, but he's a playboy billionaire. I don't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, it's so hard to suspend your disbelief in moments like that. Like, just like Batman has the technology to disguise himself so much better than he really does. Like, it
Yeah.
make himself look even more like a bat than he actually does.
Cover the jawline.
So no, we talked about the different iterations of the Riddler and this, the kind of or the kind of detective kind of elements of the story as well around Batman. I mean, how we kind of like the more grounded aspects. But like, would you say that this movie kind of did what it did really well was like it highlighted the relationships Batman holds dear and stuff like this, and it shows you how good of a detective he is, and it shows you different iterations, the characters we kind of know and love, and all this kind of things, even the villainous ones. But do you think what this did really well was it paired grounded storytelling with kind of over the top storytelling? Because you still had Superman and you had those elements in the kryptonite knuckle dusters, like you were talking about earlier, and stuff like that. So do you think that what this movie did well, that a lot of Batman movies haven't even tried to attempt or haven't done well in the feature kind of film department, is that was able to pair the groundedness of Batman's detective side to the expanded world that he's also been exposed to in terms of like Superman and that kind of fucking otherworldly elements?
Yeah, it did a fantastic job of that. It had everything from the Lazarus Pits, and it had, again, you said Superman, Clayface, Poison Ivy, and all of these kind of powered kind of heroes, villains, and what have you. But it never felt like it got lost track from its primary storyline. Who is Hush? What is happening? Why am I being targeted the way I am? Like, who knows my identity? Who shot the rope? How did I fall? And all of that very grounded stuff. And every now and again, it touched on, like, for example, when Clayface is revealed to be like playing the Riddler because he's an actor, and then it turns into this big action scene. But it's still, you never felt like, oh, now it's after losing itself now. You never felt it. It always managed to, and doing that, staying coherent and staying kind of, I don't know, like having the right energy, not shifting back and forward too much that I can't take you seriously. It never did that. I thought it was very, very fluid from start to finish.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the action scenes. And then when there's downtime, let's just say, where it was more the detective stuff, I enjoyed that too, because it really felt like you were behind the curtain of Batman and what the Batman experience would be like if it wasn't like a grounded Batman, if it was like all the cards on the table, Justice League, all of that jazz, what Batman's life would be like at a particularly turbulent time. And I just love that. I love that kind of submerged in Gotham.
Yeah.
And they managed,
And we got to see like a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie as well, too. Like, you know what I mean?
Actually see Bruce Wayne. Have you noticed that's the thing? There's always a painful lack of actual Bruce Wayne in anything.
Yeah.
Because, the Bruce Wayne becomes the disguise. And he shows up to this function that he absolutely has to shareholders this blah blah blah, and then that's it, he's gone. For like how he keeps up the illusion is just beyond you. But Bruce Wayne, the actual complexity of him was a little bit on display because he was still like a flesh and blood man.
He
was trying to pursue a relationship. He was trying to do something that was just for himself.
He was trying to live a somewhat normal life while at the same time trying to kind of protect anyone that was in the life of Bruce Wayne away from the life of Batman. Was not kind of the balance.
Exactly what it was.
Excuse me. So that's what I liked about this as well. It shows that like Bruce Wayne's not willing to let go, even though you have like Dick Grayson coming up, you have Damien coming up, and he mentions like he's not ready. Like it's like that's the thing about Bruce Wayne, and something that annoyed me about the Dark Knight Rises movies. Like Bruce Wayne never retires. He's not going to retire. Like,
Yeah.
he's just going to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Eventually he's going to push himself too far, or he'll be too old to do the thing. Yeah, no, eventually something catches up with him, father time or a stray bullet. And that's
yeah,
that just seems to be the fate.
exactly. And if he's not fighting crime as Batman, he's going to do it as like an Oracle type character, like he did in Batman Beyond, where he'll always be involved
Yeah.
in one way or the other. Like, you know what I mean? So I just think that's what I liked about this, that like it kind of shows the kind of sociopathic nature almost as well of Batman,
Oh
because it's
yeah.
like, you know, he'll never give up no matter how much damage he's going to take. He's stuck about his mission, he's stuck about his code, and even like to the detriment of his relationship with Catwoman, Selena Kyle, later on, that like he pretty much chose his code over her. And that's what it shows, that like he's done that all his life. He's chosen his code over the people that are closest to him. That's why Dick Grayson became Nightwing and no longer Robin, stuff like this, because Batman's whole tunnel vision, his whole mission in life, has kind of made him close walls to people that he's supposed to care about. And even though he keeps them close, he's constantly pushing them away in favor of his code. So that's what I liked about this movie, that it showed that Batman is inherently damaged, and even though he does fight for the side of good, that Bruce Wayne is oftentimes the one that's really the victim of Batman's
Yeah.
crusade, because he's got no life and his life always suffers. So Batman's code can flourish, or he can stick to the code or whatever, his ethos or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's what I liked about this. It shows that oftentimes the detriment of Bruce Wayne really is not his enemies, but it's actually Batman himself, you know?
Yeah. I know it was a different film, but there was where he was confronted with Jason Todd, the Red Hood, and he said you wouldn't kill Joker because it was too easy, and he goes, it's not that it's too it's too hard, and he goes, it's not that it's too hard, it would be far too easy.
Yeah.
It would be far too easy to do what they do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point. You have to be better. And if he ever crossed that line, then in his view, he would never be better. So no matter how bad it gets. And that was like, again, that revolving door of Batman. Like if I had a chance to kill Joker, I'd kill him.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, that's where,
yeah,
I would.
Especially
because if I had a chance
Joker.
if I had a chance to, and he kills anybody else, that because he's a psychopath,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And yeah.
As soon as
the ethos of Batman is his own downfall, and that's always been true.
It's always the case that like as soon as you let a psychopath live, if you have the chance to kill him, and as soon as anyone dies from then on, it's your fault. The blood's on your hands. It's simple as that. Like, and that's the major problem with Batman. It's not as a character that even though he sticks to his code, he's all about I have to be a symbol, I have to be better than him. But because he doesn't kill his villains, that they constantly come back and kill more and more and more people. So that blood is always on Batman's hands. So he's living in a vicious cycle. And that's what I liked about this kind of movie, that it showed that cycle that Batman is wrapped up in, that he's constantly like the own victim to his own kind of code. And a lot of people are the victims to him trying to be a symbol. And because he's kind of got lost in what made him Batman, he can't let go when he is Batman now. So he's stuck to the things that he chose to be, that made him be Batman. And he's all about justice, that kind of way. Like, so he's all about the symbol of right over wrong, this like the hard decisions over the easy decisions. And I love that he's stuck in this cycle of the things that made him become Batman. He always holds on to them so dearly that other people suffer because of it, and even innocence. And I love this kind of twisted darkness about Batman. And this movie showed that there's this weird twisted darkness to Batman, that he's stuck in this cycle and he can never get out of it. And sometimes it's not just bad guys to die or get hurt because of it. And I think that's what just fucking makes him such a complicated and interesting character.
Agreed. It's that kind of code that he needs to live by. And if you don't agree with it, is there something wrong with you, or is there something wrong with him?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like he doesn't have a point. It's not like there's some lines that a person just shouldn't cross. But is there not also a point where if somebody crosses that line, especially like I have to understand that you live in a world where jail is nothing. You're like, guaranteed escape. You know what I mean? I thought if somebody got arrested and they're just going to be locked away forever and that's the end of them, then that's a different conversation. But if that's just obviously not on the table, then I would think like, yeah, of course, and that's it. That's the great debate around. That's the great debate. Yeah, it is, and that's why the Wolverines and the anti-hero, the Venoms, are such kind of refreshing characters quite often because they don't labor themselves with that. Like they wouldn't be a danger to you or I, because you or I are not out doing the absolute monstrous things that for them would justify them crossing a line that Batman sees and killing them.
Yeah,
but that's it. Batman's just a complex character, but you kind of wouldn't have him any other way, especially when he's been around for like since what 19. Superman's 39, so I think it's even the 40s. Yeah, so he's been around for like absolutely forever, for more than 90+% of people on this planet. So it's just incredible that they can still keep him so fresh, and change him so much, both sticking true to that original ethos.
Yeah.
But constantly testing it, or testing the boundaries of whether it's right or wrong. And I love this. I thought this was a real thinker of a film. It really was. It was kind of in the mouth of madness, as opposed to just being a flying through the sky Zod versus Superman. Yeah, like a dictator versus somebody who believes in justice. It's not complex. Yeah, this was actually complex.
Yeah, because Superman, the issue is with his stories, they're very black and white at times. Except that's what I liked about the DCU. They added a lot of shades of grey to Superman's place in the world. And when you look at Hush, it shows you the grayness of Batman's world, like the fucking ethics that he uses, that even though they seem right sometimes, but when you really kind of dig away at them, you see the inherent flaws to his code and his system of justice. And that's what I love about that like Batman, and I think him as a character himself never tries to pretend he's perfect. And because he's not, he's broken because he's always suffered from watching his parents die before his eyes. And he's always been a broken human being because of that. And his moral compass, even though it's shifting towards the right direction, it's still damaged. And even though it shifts towards the right direction, his perception of what is right and what is wrong is very different than what a lot of people would perceive to be right and wrong. Like, you know what I mean? For a character that is very grey, his perception of right and wrong is almost very black and white, which makes no sense to his character, because he's trying to hold on to this kind of sense of inherent justice, not the grayness of this world he lives in,
Exactly. But you were like, Batman, he's escaped 6 times. He's killed 900 people since you first arrested him. Going, don't you think I want to cross that line? Batman, I really feel like you're not listening to me.
It's like
it'd be too easy. I get it. Like, I do get it.
He literally blew up an orphanage. I'd be like, can somebody give Jim Gordon some advanced technology so he can shoot some of these people?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I'd be doing if I was Jim Gordon. Like, every time Batman arrests someone and he'd be bringing them to me, and I'd just shoot them in the handcuffs.
I would be like, I'd replace his like knockout gas with like cyanide or something like that. He'd be like, take this, villains, and they all just start to choke to death.
Now you're incapacitating, their skin's starting to melt off. Like,
I'd imagine it's just some jobbers, like just some guys who are hired to take a bit of jewelry.
We're the Schmeagol gang. We're going to get you, Batman. Smash!
Don't be afraid to use your nails, girls.
And Batman's like, oh, this is a very small threat. I'll just incapacitate him. Throws the canister, and it's just like,
or imagine it was like a female villain and he uses knockout gas, and you're like, did you just use a knockout gas on that woman? Like, okay, yeah, I feel like you're simplifying things. What I'm asking is if you either did or did not use the knockout gas on that woman.
But so like that's what I liked about this movie, that like it shows us the depth of Batman's rogues gallery, that like someone like Penguin barely showed up in a montage. We got to see Clayface, we got to see Scarecrow, Poison Ivy.
Oh, it was the world, man. Yeah, it was Gotham. It was Gotham.
You know what I mean?
Not just like everyone thinks Gotham, they think Batman, and they're right to, of course, Batman. But when you think Gotham, you think of like this kind of whole system of vigilante justice versus, really organized gangs, like superheroes, but also super villains.
Yeah. And
like a police department an overburdened police department trying to hold it all together. Like, I love that. This film could have been, if you call this film Gotham, it would have earned it. You could have called this film Gotham.
Yeah.
And I would have bought it, because it was, the whole city was brought into it, I feel, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, that's what I liked about it too. It's like it kind of gave you the sense of the computer games. It really expanded on the Batman universe. They didn't just focus on one character.
Do you want to type it? What couldn't it have been a computer game? Like, couldn't have you made a game kind of based on this story?
Oh, 100%.
because you would have got to take on a lot of the big bads. You
Yeah.
know, you maybe you didn't get a Mr. Freeze, but you got a Clayface, and maybe you didn't necessarily fight a Penguin, but you fought a Riddler. You know, it was all there.
Exactly, like, you know what I mean? So it had all the elements for a great story. It showed us all the different things that makes Batman an awesome character, a complex character, an interesting character. And it showed us the depths of his rogues gallery. It showed us awesome action. It showed us the Riddler in a way that we've never seen before. And like the clips that I've seen from the Robert Pattinson starring the Batman, the one directed by Matt Reeves. And after watching Hush, I can definitely say that they probably watched this movie in the build up.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that they take some elements from this movie, because this live action is going to be 3 hours long. I can't wait. I'm all for it. And that's what I loved about Hush. It just shows you all the different elements that makes Batman a very interesting, complex character. And it shows you. Sorry,
probably the most loved. I'd go as far as to say,
him and Spider-Man.
Again, I haven't polled that. I have not polled that. Him and Spider-Man and Superman, and probably Batman and Spider-Man maybe edging out, and especially with how huge the Spider-Man films have been. But for me, I can think of Dara Byrne, I can think of Beige, even just of two people that I'm friends with, and I would call them both, especially Dara, an absolute maniac for Batman.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of people that aren't just Batman fans, but like, you know, complete and total fanboys.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy how much that there's a relatability, I think, to them that maybe some other superheroes don't have.
Yeah.
So, and this film would have done a lot to add to that relatability, despite the fact that it's to the nth degree. There is something very, like, imagine you had this ability, this intelligence, and these resources.
Yeah.
But the human problems that you would still run into. The ethos of what you would run into, and the moral quandaries, because it's very easy for us to say, oh, I'd kill him straight away, but we've never been in those situations. We're just armchair generals. That's all exactly. We are. So I do. Just what a great film, man. Just what a great film.
Yeah. So, like, before we get the fuck out of here, is that your final thoughts on Hush? It's just a great
I think movie. I do. I think that's my final thoughts. It's just honest God, pats on the back all around. The animation department did an excellent job. It was excellently acted by the voice actors. It was brought to life. It was true to the comic book, but that's not to say that there wasn't, you know, directorial direction and a little bit of art in it. So just applause to everybody. As a fanboy, you did 100% justice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And before I get the fuck out here, all I want to say is that it shows you the depths of Batman's world, and it shows you the potential when it's used correctly, and how all these different characters can add all the different little elements to one particular story. And you don't really have to focus on all the villains or just one villain. They can use them in different ways. And that's what I liked about this movie, that it really showed the detective abilities of Batman, but also showed the kind of expansion to his kind of universe as well. So, like, I just think Hush was a really good example of how Batman done right. That, for me, that's all it was. Like, it was just a really good example of Batman done right.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's it, man. I think that, you know what I mean. I think that is it. I just want to, before we get out of here, I want to see who directed it, so I can just give him a shout. I directed Justin Copeland.
Cool. Yeah, you know, he did a really good job.
So excellent job, Justin. Well done.
Yeah, so another awesome outing from DC in the animated department, and we'll have a little bit more DC content on the next episode of Dark Side Me Look at Superman Red Sun. But before we get the fuck out of here, I'm your host, Vincent Green.
And I'm not. Oh, I'm the other one. So, wait, I know. I got this.
You suck.
No, okay, take two. You'll get this in post?
I don't think there's any working with this.
And I'm your host, Vincent.
Fucking sucks. It's fucking
peace.
And he's a mess, and this is Dark Side of the Moon, and that was Hush. See you next time, folks. Peace.
I'm a god, you're